Good evening. I would like to call to order the May 18th, 2026 Lake Washington School Board meeting. Let the record reflect that all board members are present, and we have our two senior student reps, James and Suniri. The board values public participation and engagement in the meetings of the board. Board meetings will continue to be live streamed on the LWSD website and are available for viewing following the conclusion of the board meeting as well. The public are always welcome to email the board at boardmembers@lwsd.org. Director Richter, would you like to read our land acknowledgement tonight?
Yes, I would. The Board of Directors of Lake Washington School District acknowledges that our district is on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights on this land, including the Duwamish and the Snoqualmie Indian tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived here since time immemorial. We commit to continue collaborating with our Native community to teach the indigenous history of this land and these local tribes to all children of the district. We also commit to provide the best possible education for all children of Native descent who attend our schools.
I will now entertain a motion to approve the May 18th, 2026 agenda.
So moved.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Meekhoff to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We have a recognition this evening of our senior student board reps, Director Yoakum and Director Meekhoff.
Okay. Stand right here. Good evening, everyone. One of the greatest privileges that Director Meekhoff and I have is overseeing our student board representative program. And tonight is a bittersweet milestone because we are here to celebrate and recognize two incredible leaders who have served alongside this board for the past 2 years, James and Suniri. Serving a 2-year term as a student board representative is a massive commitment. To put it in perspective, James and Suniri have traveled to school board conferences in Spokane and Seattle. They have regularly showed up for meetings that begin at 5 p.m. and sometimes stretch until 10:30 p.m. They've spent their Sunday evenings on Teams calls preparing for meetings, and they've logged over 40 hours working with staff to host listening sessions with students from all of our high schools. And let's not forget the hours spent onboarding and, of course, team building through escape rooms and bowling. Their role is a vital one. James and Suniri have served as a direct link between our students and our leadership. They have ensured that youth perspectives are actively driving the decisions we make right here in this boardroom. As most of us know, any new job or responsibility often comes with a steep learning curve. 2 years ago, James and Suniri were thrown right into the deep end of school board governance. And I think it's fair to say that they started out a little confused, but they were entirely willing to learn and ask questions. Over time, they caught on to the rhythm of the meetings and truly understood the purpose of this board's work. Slowly, we watched them move into true leadership. The questions they asked became sharper and more impactful. Their input became deeper and more meaningful. James and Suniri, you learned to command this space with absolute confidence. Looking at who you are today, it is incredibly powerful to look back at what you wrote when you first applied for this role 2 years ago. You arrived with some hopes of what you could take away from this experience. Suniri, in your application, you wrote, "Through this position, I will gain experience and insight into the act of balancing opposing perspectives, while still maintaining my own voice and advocating for what I believe will best represent and serve our district's needs." Suniri, for 2 years, you did exactly that. You mastered the delicate art of balancing opposing perspectives with grace and empathy, all while keeping your very own strong voice to advocate fiercely for all students. And James, you focused on the opportunity to shape the system from within. You wrote, "Serving as a student representative would provide me with firsthand experience in governance and decision-making processes at a district-wide level. This role would allow me to actively shape the academic policies and initiatives impacting my peers and me, promoting a learning environment that will foster the growth of Lake Washington School District students. And James, you absolutely achieved that goal. You stepped right into the heart of governance, model, and you didn't just watch the decision-making process, but you actively helped drive it. The two of you should be so proud of the contributions that you have made to this board and the district. Your ongoing feedback has fundamentally changed how we operate. It has transformed how we select and onboard new student representatives, and it constantly has pushed us to think about how we engage students more meaningfully, including some gentle reminders that we might need to utilize social media a little bit more. Most importantly, you challenged this board to move up Hart's ladder of youth participation. You made it clear from day one that you weren't here to just fill a seat or serve as a symbolic gesture, pushing us instead toward true shared decision-making. Because of that advocacy, your contributions to OE10 will be a lasting legacy. You showed us that policies should be written by treating students as active, equal partners in governance. The policies you influenced and the example you set leave a permanent footprint on this district. 2 years ago, you walked into a very intimidating space filled with district administrators and elected leaders. You didn't just sit back. You worked alongside us, not as mere observers, but as highly respected colleagues whose perspectives genuinely shifted decisions. I know I speak for everyone up here when I say we commend your ability to balance intense academic loads, demanding extracurriculars, and your personal lives with the serious responsibilities that came with this role. Alongside the heavy policy discussions, we have so enjoyed getting to know you both as individuals. We've loved hearing about your DECA and your robotics competitions around the country, the drama after school dances, your college applications, and stories about your family and friends. While we are incredibly sad to see you leave us, we are so excited to watch you walk across that graduation stage and step into the next chapter of your life's adventure. We know that the raw leadership skills you walked in with 2 years ago have been sharpened and polished through your time here. James Cincinnati, thank you for your service, your insight, and your partnership. We wish you the absolute best, and we will miss you.
Thank you.
That was so amazing. We do have some certificates, and there is a picture of, oh, are you saying this part? Oh, and there is a picture of something that we will have for you at a later date because we're a little surprised that it was going to be today. So, Cincinnati and James, thank you. I'll take that. Perfect, thank you.
I wanted to say a few words as well. It's been such a privilege to watch the two of you grow. And I know it's not just you growing because you were student reps. You grew because you're quality people, because you have families that support you. You have great schools and teachers. You have friends and a community. And this was part of your growth as well. And as I think about what I hope you walk away with is that I know you walked into this role wanting to have an impact. And maybe it wasn't exactly as you thought. Maybe it wasn't you were going to make a decision about a specific thing, but you figured out how to make an impact. And that is such a useful skill in life because every situation you walk into, understanding how can I make an impact in this situation, it may be different than you think initially, but understanding the dynamics, understanding the different roles, and in this situation, understanding governance. Governance is so complex, and I can tell you, every board member up here walked into a very similar situation wondering, how do I make a difference through policy? Like, what does that even mean? And I think both of you learned a very tremendous lesson. You developed great skills. And I think I heard from both of you through the engagement process, you gain new perspective. And those perspectives will carry you all through your life. And gaining perspective is also a skill that you will always think about, how do I view the world differently or through the eyes of somebody else? because life isn't just about your perspective, it's about the whole perspective. And so both of you did a tremendous job as student representatives to the board. We are still new in this process, and you taught us a tremendous amount about how we can do our work better with our student representatives. And every student rep that comes behind you will benefit because of what the work you did. So congratulations on this. Congratulations on your upcoming adventures in college. And we can't wait to see what you do in life. So congratulations. And now, board, I believe we're going to all come down here and take some pictures with the students real quick.
The next item on the agenda will be public comment. The Board of Directors of Lake Washington School District welcomes the public to the business meetings of the board. We appreciate and value community engagement. We dedicate 30 minutes for public comment, with each speaker provided up to 2 minutes. This is a time for the board to listen. Please do not expect a response to your comments. Speakers will be called in the order of sign up. If there is not enough time to get to all individuals that have signed up, you may email your comments to boardmembers@lwsd.org. If you have materials to share with the board, please place them in the basket next to the podium. A timer will be displayed to help manage time. It will turn yellow at 30 seconds remaining and red at 10 seconds. The microphone will be turned off shortly after time expires, so please conclude your remarks promptly. We ask everyone to model respectful discourse. Please refrain from audience comments or prolonged applause so that we can hear from as many speakers as possible. After public comment concludes, those not staying for the remainder of the meeting are asked to exit quietly. Public comment sign-up is available on the district website and closes at noon on the day of the meeting. Speakers may designate another person in advance of the deadline. Substitutions at the meeting cannot be accommodated. Finally, the board does not address personnel matters during meetings. We encourage individuals to first work with school or district staff to resolve concerns. Please also refrain from naming students unless you are their parent or guardian, or you're a student. Public comment will now begin at 7:14 p.m. The first speaker is Charlie Flagel. No Charlie. The next speaker is Rita Hansen.
Hello, school board. My name is Rita Hansen. I am a 4th grader at Alcott Elementary. I am here today to speak about the inconvenience and frustration these photocopied black and white math workbooks have caused. Hold those up. This may not seem like a big problem, but it is. Teachers have to use a lot of their time printing out these photocopies. Students have to use these workbooks and color problems can't be solved. A student here had to color code their own math workbooks with markers. Pages also fall out easily, and workbooks can be printed out of order. I came here a few months ago speaking about this same issue, and I did not get a response. This is a big problem, and I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. So I started a petition to bring back math workbooks to LWSD elementary schools. Together, from students, teachers, and voting parents, I gathered 226 signatures from Alcott, Dickinson, Rosa Parks, and Ella Baker. I hope you reconsider funding for math workbooks. Thank you.
The next speaker is Piyush Galat.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Piyush Gehlot. On behalf of all FTQ families in LWSD, I sincerely thank the district for keeping the 4-5 cohort at Baker for next school year. This decision reflected real listening, and we are genuinely grateful. But the broader questions it surfaced remain, which is why we are back tonight, and not to push back, but to offer constructive feedback. Families put down roots in their neighborhoods with long-term stability in mind. We invest in schools, build community ties, and plan our children's growth around the assumption that their educational path is predictable. That's true for students in general education, but not for FTU students. And we believe a thoughtful adjustments could close that gap. We recognize FTQ enrollment fluctuates year to year, and citing decisions must respond to real constraints. With that in mind, we offer 3 suggestions for board's consideration. First, beyond the minimum enrollment needed to open or continue an FTQ classroom, we'd welcome a published stability range for existing sites. So if enrollment falls within this range, the classrooms remain in place. The goal is transparent siting criteria designed for stability, not for just viability. Second, we'd welcome an FTQ siting outlook covering all elementary grades and not just the upper cohort. Families enrolling a second grader are making multi-year commitment, and a clearer view across the full K-5 arc would help land them with the same confidence that other non-FTQ families enjoy. And lastly, I would offer the equity dimension. Students in FTQ are asked to travel, transition, and adjust more than their peers, and a stronger siting framework would help ease that asymmetry. In conclusion, clear stability criteria, a multi-year outlook, and a transparent framework would build trust and help the district deliver on the promise of FTQ for every family that opts in. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ria Desai.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Ria Desai. I am a 3rd grade Quest student in my home school is Ella Baker. I'm here today to share why staying at Ella Baker matters so much to me and hoping my voice is truly heard. This year I was transferred to Horace Mann for 3rd grade, and now I'm being transferred to Alcott for 4th grade. So in 3 years, it'd be 3 different schools for me. My closest friends are non-Quest friends at Ella Baker. Changing school every year is making it hard for me to stay connected with them, and I'm not able to make new stable connections. I have struggled at Horace Mann this year, and now I'm being asked to go to Alcott and start all over again. There is no guarantee which school I will be assigned for 5th grade, and then again, I will have to change schools for middle school. How does the district expect kids to change schools every single year and not get affected by it? I see how my older sister has always been with her friends since elementary to middle, and how this deeper friendship helps her feel emotionally and mentally safe, and it makes me extremely sad that I won't be able to have the same connection as I am being separated from my community and not able to have stability to form real friendships. It seems I am expected to struggle every year because I am in Quest. Why are Quest kids treated differently, and why can't we stay at our home school like other kids? I spent 3 years at Ella Baker, and I identify myself as a Baker Bear, and I want to continue my last 2 years of elementary here with my friends and go to the same middle school with them. Why can't Quest kids have the same stability and environment as every other kid? I want to respectfully ask the district if kids' commute time, social emotional needs, and sense of belonging is considered at all. If yes, then please don't separate me from my friends in homeschool. And please let Ella Baker host the Quest program. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Robert Ragno.
In 2023, OSPI delivered a report to the legislature on highly capable students. They stated, students who are highly capable learners often have advanced levels of academic performance. However, their academic needs often are not adequately met in the traditional classroom. Program services for highly capable students are needed to challenge these students to meet their academic potential. Now hold classroom-based services, CBS, against that standard. CBS keeps identified students in the traditional classroom. No pullout, no highly capable specialist. The district's own website says the classroom teacher decides how and when to extend or enrich learning. The state says the traditional classroom does not meet these students' needs. CBS is the traditional classroom. What CBS replaced, K5HC and Pullout Quest, provided weekly instruction from high-cap teachers. Under CBS, that is gone. Same teacher, same room, same curriculum, same minutes. No reporting, no goals, no accountability. The only thing that changes is a designation in Skyward. That designation cannot even meaningfully inform differentiation because it is the decision tree derivative of test scores the teacher already had visible. The district simultaneously stopped universal cognitive testing. All curriculum for CBS students is available to use with all students. All teaching techniques are ones already in use and are available to use for all students. Differentiation was already expected for high-quality teaching. There is no logical reason to expect any observable difference if the same student is labeled CBS or not. CBS was in no way a response to the identification changes the legislature mandated in 2023. That's illogical. The one virtue of CBS that's been lauded at these board meetings, that it is zero cost. The state tasked districts with meeting the basic education needs of the most highly capable students. Lake Washington's solution is to put them back in traditional classrooms and call it a service. That's not a service tier, that is a label. Thank you.
The next speaker is Madhura Misar.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. My name is Madhura Misar. My daughter is currently a 4th grader full-time Quest at Ella Baker. Thank you for listening to our concerns and allowing the 5th graders to graduate from Ella Baker. We appreciate your action to ensure their stable pathway to middle school. However, while next year is resolved, our core concerns remain. I'm here to advocate for transparency, equity, and stable long-term pathway for full-time Quest students. First, we want to ask what is the long-term plan for Quest kids from transitioning from elementary to middle school for Baker, Parks, and Wilder elementary communities. If the plan is for these students to finish elementary at Alcott and then return to Timberline Middle School, can we please not look away from the social and emotional consequences of this decision? Navigating highly demanding coursework while starting middle school completely isolated with no familiar faces around is a lonely path for these kids. In this rapidly changing world with AI that prompts human disconnect, we have an innate responsibility to provide these kids with a psychologically and socially safe environment. Second, if the long-term vision is to centralize students at a school like Evergreen Middle School from Alcott, the district must provide transparency to families now. Our lives revolves around these choices. Families are struggling to readjust housing, commutes, and life plans year after year due to changing dynamics. We need clarity to plan for our future. Finally, I want to reiterate that FTQ students are not being treated with equity. Unlike general education students, they are asked to spend their learning years in faraway schools, detached from their local communities. This isolation fosters social anxiety and indifference from early on. We urge you to provide a clear, transparent, 5-year long-term plan for FTQ students. Please prioritize their psychological safety and establish a stable K-12 pathway that focuses on local schools first. Thank you.
The next speaker is Oni Doshi.
Hello. First off, just to mimic some of the other parents, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to listen the last few weeks and listening to the families and principals and reflecting that in the feedback for the updated plan for next year. We really appreciate it. As families process these changes, many of us are also thinking about the long-term future of accelerated learning in our district. One concern we keep coming back to is the continued consolidation and relocation of services away from local feeder patterns. Stable regional pathways are so important. They help students build lasting relationships and make the middle school transition easier, and they also support equitable access to advanced learning across the district. They also really matter for school communities. When programs move away from the local feeder areas, it becomes harder for families to stay involved through volunteering, school events, and other ways of being part of the community. And for families like mine who have multiple children, potentially being split across different feeder patterns creates real emotional burden and logistical strain. We also worry that over time, concentrating programs into fewer locations could unintentionally shift enrollment patterns as families start making housing or transfer decisions based on where these accelerated programs are located. And when advanced learning comes with repeated school moves or uncertain pathways, some families may choose to not participate at all. Students don't just need access to these programs, they need stable communities where they can actually build roots. So our ask is this: please prioritize keeping accelerated learning pathways connected to local feeder patterns. And also give families more transparency and a clearer long-term vision for how these decisions are made. Finally, we'd really encourage the district to look at whether Quest identification criteria could be more in line with the neighboring districts, so students both on the bubble could benefit from accelerated learning, and these larger cohorts could support more locations and more access closer to home. Our ask isn't for special treatment, it's for predictable, equitable, community-connected access to advanced learning. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Lavkash Desai.
Good evening, members of school board. My name is Lavkash Desai. I am here today as a Quest student's parent and community member to respectfully ask the board to reconsider sending students away from their neighborhood homeschool for the accelerated learning program. Every child deserves access to advanced and accelerated learning opportunities without having to leave their local school. This program should be available at neighborhood schools so students can continue learning alongside their peers while still being challenged academically. I'm also concerned about the lack of transparency regarding Quest enrollment numbers and class size decisions within the accelerated program. We emailed the accelerated program director to provide these numbers about 2 weeks back, and we haven't received any response so far. Families deserve clear and accurate information about how these decisions are being made. Another major concern is the constant changes to the accelerated program site from year to year. Families need stability and predictability. Educational programs should be planned with a long-term vision instead of changing locations and structures every year. Frequent program changes make it extremely difficult for families to plan their futures. Parents cannot make informed decisions about housing, commuting, childcare, and long-term community involvement when they do not know where their children's program will be located next year. Many families choose where to live based on the school stability. I strongly believe we can support advanced learners while keeping students connected to their local schools and communities. I also ask for the greater transparency and open communication regarding enrollment data and class size planning, along with a long-term commitment to program stability for families. I kindly ask the board to invest in bringing accelerated programs into neighborhood schools instead of moving students away from them. Thank you for your time and consideration.
The last speaker is Avni Hansoti.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Avni Hansori, and I'm parent of a third grade Quest child. I'm here to talk about district's recent decision regarding closing the full-time Quest location at Ella Baker. While we support district's goal of optimizing facility use and reducing cost, the current data strongly suggest that placing full-time Quest hub at Elcott instead of Ella Baker contradicts district's goal for transportation efficiency and capacity management. Alcott has a space constraint and is struggling with higher general enrollment of kids, while Ella Baker is running under capacity and has 9 empty classrooms. Why we are pushing kids to an already crowded school and forcing portable class on them when we have empty classrooms at Ella Baker. The district has cited enrollment also as a driving factor, but geographic breakdown of the highly capable students' population tells a different story. The combined student base of Ella Baker, Rosa Parks, and Wilder accounts for the vast majority of the regional Quest kids. Alcott and Dickinson represent a significantly smaller percentage of the total Quest pool. If 62 kids from Baker and Parks can be transported to Alcott, why can't 20 kids from Alcott be transported to Ella Baker? How does hosting at Alcott make it cost-effective for district when both numbers and transportation cost suggest otherwise? I have tried to reach accelerated program to understand this decision and requested transparency, but I haven't got any answers back from them. I would like to request district to look at the Quest enrollment data. I also have a sheet here with me for you to look at. If Quest enrollment, transportation cost, and student well-being are being considered, then data clearly supports Ella Baker as a better hosting site over Alcott. So I'm hoping district reconsiders their decision and continue hosting at Ella Baker. Thank you.
This concludes public comment. Thank you to everyone who took the time to engage with the board this evening. As we continue with the meeting, we ask that all attendees remain respectful and follow standard meeting protocols, including minimizing side conversations and keeping voices low. If you choose to leave at this time, please do so quietly and in an orderly manner so that the board can continue its meeting. Thank you again for your participation. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the May 18th, 2026 consent agenda. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Meekhoff and seconded by Director LaLiberty. Superintendent Holman, will you please poll the board?
I will. Director Yoakum?
Yes.
Director Richter?
Yes.
Director Meekhoff?
Yes.
Vice President LaLiberty?
Sorry, I was watching James hug his family. Yes.
And President Guthrie?
Yes. Motion carries. Superintendent Holman, will you please review the donations?
I will. So tonight in the board's packet, you have over $89,000 in donations coming in from the Juanita Elementary School PTA, Wilder PTSA, Redmond High School PTSA, Redmond High School Booster Club, and want to draw specific attention to one of our great partners, the Lake Washington Schools Foundation, a donation of $65,000 to support the LINKS program and Care Solace. And so programs for students and schools, and also broad community benefit through our partnership with the Lake Washington Schools Foundation. So thanks to all of those that donated directly or indirectly to what the board is accepting tonight.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is authorization to sell bonds and bond refunding. This is resolution at number 2441, and also our public hearing on LGO bonds. Dr. Holman.
Yes, and so thank you for calling out. There's two kind of different items on this one agenda item tonight. And so Associate Superintendent Posthumus is going to come and provide a presentation. We are excited that we are discussing limited general obligation bonds tonight, because that's directly aligned with 3 years of legislative advocacy that really allows us to take this action, which benefits our students, our community related to that. And also bond refunding has been something that Barbara and her team have paid close attention to, and it's pretty amazing the amount of money that we've saved over the last handful of years, and I'll let Barbara share that actual number with you. But just doing that, it doesn't benefit the district. Like, we don't save anything. There's nothing. There's a process we have to go through, but it directly saves our community tax dollars. And so that's why it's an important element, because funding is always a partnership. And so anytime we're talking about this and thinking about these types of activities, it's with great appreciation that we have a community that is so highly supportive. So with that, I'll hand it to Associate Superintendent Posthumus to provide much more detailed information.
Thank you very much. Yes, I just have a few slides to provide some context. So tonight you have a resolution before the board, and it really covers two actions. The first action is sale of limited general obligation bonds. So what are those? Those are short-term, non-voted debt paid back with a levy that's already been approved. So for Lake Washington, that's a 6-year construction levy, and those bonds are paid back with those dollars within the time frame. So the principal is paid back with a previously approved capital levy, and then interest is paid back using other sources. The other sources from our capital projects fund is our state construction assistance program funds. We receive, when we do construction projects, we receive assistance from the state. It's a very small portion of our overall construction project, but we get those funds after the project is open and complete. So the full cost of the project is borne by the district, the taxpayers, and then the state actually takes time, or SCAP takes time for us to request reimbursement and for the state to reimburse it. So the interest is being paid back with previous SCAP funds from our 2019 construction levy and anticipated SCAP from our 2022 construction levy. So one of the requirements for districts to sell LGO bonds is you are required to hold a public hearing, which we are doing tonight, and you're required to advertise that public hearing in a newspaper. And so we did advertise that in our local Seattle Times and our local reporters. So, and then why do we need to sell LGO bonds? And so we have discussed with the board the potential for this sale. It's been part of our budget. We discussed it at past study sessions, and most recently at the January 26th board meeting, it was part of the facility update presentation. For this particular bond sale, it covers two construction levies. It covers the 2022 construction levy. We received those funds over, that was passed by voters in February of 2022, and collection ranges from spring of 23 through fall of 28. And the majority of those project expenditures occurred in the first 4 years of the levy, and the final project will open in 2027. And so what front funding allows us to do is build those projects faster and save construction inflation. And so for this particular sale, $25 million will be used for the balance of East Lake and Redmond High School additions. So the second part of the LGO bond sale is the 2024 construction levy. Those funds are coming. Those were voted on in November of 2024. Collection began this spring of 2026, and it goes through fall of 2031. The original project plan really had each project's expenditure starting after the prior project was completed. But the reality is our capital projects team is working on multiple projects at once, being planned and incurring ongoing expenditures for all the projects during the period. And so the other thing that recently occurred is the legislature passed House Bill 1796. And so prior to in this legislative session, prior to this being passed, the proceeds, LGO proceeds could only be used for additions, capital improvements, and property. Now, LGO proceeds can also be used for all construction, including new buildings. And so the $75 million of this LGO sale will be used for the rebuild and enlarge of Alcott Elementary. Again, it's paid back with levy proceeds once they're collected. And so finally, again, front funding avoids construction escalation. and it's done when when our cash flow warrants it. It avoids construction escalation, and so that we do not have to delay projects. And so other projects would have been delayed because we started Alcott. So what are the details of this specific sale? So the resolution that you're acting on tonight delegates to the superintendent or the associate superintendent, myself, the authority to direct the bond underwriter to market the bonds within certain parameters set forth in the resolution. So those parameters include the bond amount, final maturity by December 2031, and an aggregate true interest cost not to exceed 5%. So this advanced authorization also provides flexibility in timing the bond sale so that the sale can be scheduled based on market conditions. So the sale can happen immediately after tonight's action up through December 31st, 2026, as long as the interest rate parameters in the resolution are met. Customary in the bond market today is for bonds to be sold at an original issue premium. Investors are willing to pay a premium which is greater than par amount or face value of the bond, so they get an above market interest rate. So the district will receive $100 million, but the principal that we pay back is about $5.5 million less. So that's what is defined as the premium. And so our underwriter structures the bonds for the best outcome. And so really the net cost, so that helps offset interest and cost of issuance. And so the net cost will be around $8 million. And as we mentioned, as we said already, without the sale, construction projects would need to be delayed, which would increase costs of those construction projects. And we will continue to evaluate if additional LGOs are needed. When we structured the 2024 levy, we structured it so that a smaller collection happened at the beginning and larger amounts at the end. Okay. So the next portion of the resolution is lots of initials, UTGOR. So unlimited general obligation refunding bonds is what UTGOR stands for. So the last bond measure passed by voters was in April 2016, and that bond measure was $398 million. The bonds, once bonds are approved by voters, they're sold over time as the district needs funds to build the projects. And so we sold those bonds between 2016 and 2018. And so just like some people do with a home mortgage, our bond underwriter, D.A. Davidson, they review our bonds to see when it might be beneficial for a district to refinance those bonds to provide savings. And so they have shared with us that the bonds that were sold in 2016 can be refinanced. So what this will achieve is savings to taxpayers of approximately $5 to $6 million, depending on the market and timing. And just a note that because our district has managed our finances well, we have bond ratings that are the highest in the state, which allow us to sell bonds at a lower cost. And then just as an aside, we've saved taxpayers over $43 million through bond refinancing since 2015. Okay, so the other piece of what is being authorized is, as part of the resolution, it also delegates to the superintendent or the associate superintendent, myself, the authority to sell bonds within certain parameters set forth in the resolution to the bond underwriter who will market the bonds. And those parameters include the bond amount up to $98.1 million, the final maturity date, and which is final maturity by December 1, 2031, and then a savings target of 3%. And so a 3% target is equivalent to 2.9. Again, they're estimating a savings of 5 to 6, but this would be, they must hit that target in order to conduct the sale. So the advanced authorization, again, same, it provides flexibility, and so it can be done anytime between after tonight and through December 31st, as long as those parameters are met. And again, our underwriter is going to structure the bonds sale for the best outcome for taxpayers. Okay, so what is the timeline? So tonight, the board will take action on the resolution. We'll have the public hearing, and then in mid-May, we're having ratings calls with rating agencies. By mid-June, that we anticipate having the bond sale, again, depending on market conditions. And then at the end of June, if that sale goes through mid-June, then we would close at the end of June, and that's when the cash is actually received by the district. We're pleased to work with a very experienced team for our bond sales. Our bond counsel, Pacifica Law Group, D.A. Davidson is our bond underwriter who, as I've said earlier, will market the bonds. And then we also have a financial advisor, Northwest Municipal Advisors. They provide an independent review of the transaction to ensure that the transaction provides the best outcome for our taxpayers. And that is the end. I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the board? No? When you talk about like a $5 to $6 million savings, that money flows into our capital fund, is that correct? Not
it
like
actually reduces our debt service, it will reduce the debts, the principal and interest that then we will need to pay back. So it reduces the debt service.
Any other questions? If not, the board will now hold a public hearing on the LGO bond proposal. State statutes require the board to hold a public hearing and adopt the related bond resolution. The appropriate public notices have been published in the local newspaper. An opportunity to submit written comments was provided. At this time, I will open the public hearing for the LGO bond proposal. If you wish to speak on this topic, please come to the center podium and state your name and comments. Seeing that no one wished to provide comment during the public hearing, I will now close the public hearing. At this time, the board will take action to adopt resolution number 2441, authorizing the issuance and sale of unlimited tax general obligation refunding bonds of the district in the aggregate principal amount of up to $98.1 million, and the issuance and sale of limited general obligation bonds of the district in the aggregate principal amount of up to $100 million as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Yocum that the board adopts resolution number 2441, authorizing the issuance and sale of unlimited tax general obligation refunding bonds of the district in the aggregate principal amount of up to $98.1 million, and the issuance and sale of limited general obligation bonds of the district in the aggregate principal amount of up to $100 million as presented. All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the board summary for monitoring report OE3. The monitoring report for OE3, treatment of community stakeholders, was presented and approved at the April 27th, 2026 board meeting. Director Yocum and Director Richter drafted the summary based on the board's discussion at the April 27th, 2026 meeting. It is now presented for board approval. Are there any questions, clarifications, or discussion on the summary? If not, I will now entertain a motion to approve the board summary for OE3, treatment of community stakeholders, as presented.
Move approval.
Seconded.
It has been moved by Director LaLiberty and seconded by Director Meekhoff to approve the board summary for OE3, treatment of community stakeholders, as presented. Is there any further discussion? just like to say thank you to Director Yocum and Director Richter for synthesizing a complicated conversation into a very clear board summary. Thank you for that. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the board summary for Monitoring Report Results 1. The Monitoring Report for Results 1, Mission of Lake Washington School District, was presented and approved at the May 4th, 2026 board meeting. Vice President LaLiberty and Director Meekhoff drafted the summary based on the board's discussion at the May 4th, 2026 meeting. It is now presented for board approval. Are there any questions, clarification, or discussion on the summary? I will now entertain a motion to approve the board summary for Results 1, Mission of Lake Washington School District, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Director Yocum and seconded by Director LaLiberty to approve the board summary for Results 1, Mission of Lake Washington School District, as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by voting aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The board plans to meet next on June 1st with a 5 p.m. study session and a 7 p.m. board meeting. The board will now meet in executive session for 120 minutes for the purpose of performance of a public employee. Please note, executive sessions are closed to the public. The board will convene in executive session starting at 8 o'clock p.m. At the conclusion of the executive session, the May 18th, 2026 board meeting will be adjourned at 10 p.m. There are no additional agenda items, and there will be no board action following executive session. Should the board require additional time to meet in executive session, I, as board president, will announce an extension of the executive session. The board will now convene into executive session.